Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite, and welcome back to part 3 of my review on Biden's State of the Union address. So I'm going to jump into that. Okay, so at the end of the last video, I was talking about him talking about extending the earned income tax credit. And when I continue on, he talks about, well, let's extend it to the end of 2025. Why 2025? Why not permanent? Why is he not even talking about making this permanent? So when he continues on, he talks about lowering deductibles under the American Care Act, the ACA, not eliminating deductibles, not enacting universal health care, so there's no deductible at all, not making all necessary medical care provided for. It's access to. Again, it's access to. It's always access to something that you have to pay a corporation for. You have to pay attention to his wording. He's always talking about access to. Access to. No. These need to be human rights. Well, I'm shocked. He actually talks about giving Medicare the ability to negotiate lower drug costs. But that's Medicare. If you're not in the Medicare system, if we don't have Medicare for all, then if you're outside that Medicare system, you're still gonna pay full price. Yes, we pay more than any other country on earth for our medications. And for anybody not on Medicare, then that's going to continue. Read between the lines. Yes, so he says that won't just benefit people that are on Medicare. It'll help everyone else, but he doesn't say how. In no way does he offer any detail on how this would help anyone like me that is not on Medicare. So that's just rhetoric. That's just talk. It doesn't mean anything. I find it an absolute travesty that he follows up by saying, health care should be a right, not a privilege in America. Really? Then let's provide medical care to everyone in America. Yeah, we can afford to do this. We can. If you freaking take the corporations out of the equation. So he does talk about increasing the taxes on the wealthy and the corporations. I find it hilarious that he says, trickle-down economics has never worked. And I've already detailed how, the ARP, the infrastructure plan, and all this other stuff are all trickle-down economics. All the money goes to corporations, and it's supposed to filter down magically to the workers. And, he talks about, the wealth of the wealthy growing exponentially since the 2017 tax cut for the rich. And he absolutely leaves out the part that the most rapid growth in the stock market has been in the 100 days since he took office. That's the most rapid growth in the stock market in history. So, yeah. It's just hilarious hearing him say that. Okay, and then he launches into, oh, America's back, and we're going to be an arsenal for vaccines. How about we become a source of the information so other countries can produce their own vaccines? Because that would be the humanitarian thing to do. You know, the American taxpayers pay for the research that go into these vaccines and then hand all the technology and findings over to corporations. And then what? Then we're going to hold the information from other countries so that we can sell them the vaccines. Well, who is to say that we're not the ones developing the illnesses that need the vaccines? This becomes a question not just for me. I'm not espousing a conspiracy theory here, but it becomes a valid question for the leaders of and citizens of other countries. It becomes a very valid question. He follows up with a statement after saying that we will be an arsenal for vaccines. He follows up with a statement, but every American will have access to a vaccine before that happens. So he's literally saying, we will, if you live in another country, we will let your people die rather than share the technology to produce your own vaccine without having to pay billions or trillions of dollars. And they're not, even if they're willing to pay the money, this is not even in the discussion. He talks about climate change and carbon emissions. The thing that he says that we account for 15% of the global carbon emissions. He very conveniently leaves out the U.S. military, which is the biggest polluter on Earth. The U.S. military emits more carbon pollution than dozens of other nations combined. But he leaves that part out. So he talks about rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. Keep in mind, the Paris Climate Accord is a non-binding resolution. It is non-binding. So it doesn't commit us to doing anything. It's just we vow to reduce our carbon emissions. That's it. It doesn't mean anything more. There's no punishment. There's no consequence other than the obvious of killing the freaking planet. And then he goes into, if we act to save the planet, we can create jobs. And here's the part that I've been waiting for.
That's what virtually every nation said, even the ones that aren't doing their fair share. The investments I propose tonight also advance a foreign policy, in my view, that benefits the middle class. That means making sure every nation plays by the same rules in the global economy, including China. In my discussion with President Xi, I told him, we welcome the competition. We're not looking for conflict. But I made absolutely clear that we will defend America's interest across the board. America will stand up to unfair trade practices that undercut American workers and American industries, like subsidies from state to state-owned operations and enterprises, and the theft of American technology and intellectual property. I also told President Xi that we'll maintain a strong military presence in the Indo-Pacific, just as we do with NATO and Europe, not to start a conflict, but to prevent one.
Okay, so, yeah, you cannot ask for a more unfair trade practice than the petrodollar system. America is a currency manipulator. You can look at how many dollars have been created out of thin air in just the past year. China didn't steal our jobs. Those jobs were exported to China by American corporations. If they use what technology and knowledge that they have gained from that to compete with us, well, then that's competition. You can't just tell them, well, you're just our flunkies. You know, China has what? Over a billion people. What is it, 1.2 billion? I think. At least, what, 7 times? They have about 7 times our population. So we only account for 5% of the world's population. And unfair trade practices? And this is hilarious. And keeping a military presence in the Indo-Pacific, in the South China Sea, and to enforce our alleged trade dominance, that's not unfair trade practices. And I mean, that's walking into your frickin' neighbor's yard and holding them at gunpoint.
Hey there, sorry, hope you can hear me okay. It's a bit windy here on the beach. I just had a quick tip.
I told them what I've said to many world leaders, that America will not back away from our commitments, our commitment to human rights and fundamental freedoms, and to our alliances. And I pointed out to him, no responsible American president could remain silent when basic human rights are being so blatantly violated.
Oh, did I do this wrong? Okay, I thought I had paused it. Okay. Yeah, let's...
I told them what I've said to many world leaders, that America will not back away from our commitments, our commitment to human rights and fundamental freedoms, and to our alliances. And I pointed out to him, no responsible American president could remain silent when basic human rights are being so blatantly violated. An American president has to represent the essence of what our country stands for. America is an idea, the most unique idea in history. We are created, all of us, equal. It's who we are. And we cannot walk away from that principle and, in fact, say we're dealing with the American idea. With regard to Russia, I know it concerns some of you, but I made very clear to Putin that we're not going to seek escalation but their actions will have consequences. They turn out to be true, and they turned out to be true. So I responded directly and proportionately to Russia's interference in our elections and the cyber attacks on our government and our business. They did both of these things.
Okay. So I'm going to take on that whole thing about Russia in a separate video, but yeah, we're not secure. When you outsource everything to multiple corporations and try to, tape everything together, with weak duct tape, and we're for human rights. We've got the largest incarceration rate of any nation in history. Yeah, you're going to talk about human rights? I'm going to talk about that one in incarceration in a different video too. Yeah, because this is, I mean, the hypocrisy here is absolutely astounding.
On Iran and North Korea, nuclear programs that present serious threats to American security and the security of the world. We're going to be working closely with our allies to address the threats posed by both of these countries through diplomacy as well as stern deterrence. And American leadership means ending the forever war in Afghanistan. We have without hyperbole, the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. I'm the first president in 40 years and knows what it means to have a son serving in a war zone. Today we have service members serving in the same war zone as their parents did.
Yeah, I love the fact that he talks about, and here he talks about bringing the troops from Afghanistan home, but then when you look at the plans for where those troops will go, they're going to be repositioned in Iraq and what have you, and Syria. So they're not coming home. They're not coming home, and it's not ending the war in Afghanistan. It's privatizing it. We know this. We already know this. It's not a question. And every damn one of us should be absolutely sick and tired of hearing about my dad, my son, my other son, my drug addict son, and all this stuff. He needs to just shut up about his freaking family, and focus on being the president. Not Uncle Joe. I mean, the literal truth. He's been in office for 100 days. He has been hidden from the public for most of that time. He has not made a single public appearance in which he did not refer to his wife, his father, his son, his other son. Can you imagine how much more we're going to hear of this in the next 3 years and 9 months if he survives the next 3 years and 9 months? Because I highly question his health, and you should too. And you should notice just how much they keep on panning the cameras over to the military, because that is what this administration is about. It is all about militarization and aggression. Okay, so I am going to cut this one off here. There's only about 20 minutes left of the speech. So I'm going to reserve part 4 for militarization, because that's what the next part and probably the entire remainder is going to be about. All right, so please join me for part 4. Talk about these subjects. Share this video. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.